Hey, Team Style Mag, Totally Randy here. Now, I know you guys are used to watching your favorite celebrities rocking with Randy, but there are times where I like to get a little bit more serious, and today is one of those days. March 2021 not only brought back a plethora of bittersweet memories for us, it also reminded us that life as we knew it had changed for the foreseeable future, and for some, had changed forever. One thing you may have noticed is the absence of a knock on your door by a very familiar group, Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, Jehovah's Witnesses have been knocking on doors for as long as anyone can remember. In fact, their knock knock ministry is so popular that they are literally embedded in pop culture. That's via movies, TV, and more commonly found in comedies. So, where did they go? Did they stop preaching? Well, of course, Totally Randy has you covered. And sitting down with me is the U.S. spokesman for Jehovah's Witnesses, Mr. Robert Hendriks. And we're going to discuss 1 year without knocking with him. So tune in. Okay, thank you so much, Robert, for sitting down and speaking with us. This is something that new that we've done for Houston Style Magazine. I didn't even know that Jehovah's Witnesses actually sit down and speak with publications like this. I mean, recently I've kind of seen that happen a little bit more, but 1 year without knocking. Let's dive right into that. Let's talk about that. So your organization is worldwide, and in March of 2020, that door-to-door ministry stopped. Now, did it stop worldwide, or was it centralized here in the United States? Was it wherever COVID spread? Can you just kind of talk about that a little bit?
Sure. March 20th was really when we in the United States stopped our public preaching work. A letter went out to all of our 13,000 congregations in the United States. And it basically said that public preaching is suspended for now. And that includes not only knocking on doors, but it also includes being out in Houston area, out at the airport. We're at the airport. We're a ubiquitous presence at the airports in Houston. We're in the city, but all of that has stopped, including in-home visits and Bible studies. And that was a deliberate decision and a proactive decision because at the time, really the issue was confined to South Texas, uh, California, New York, and Florida. And in the interior of the country, we didn't really see a lot of outbreak. But it was very clear that we had to take proactive action. So that all stopped. Just a few weeks later, a note went out to all branches in the world and told them to evaluate their situation and to make decisions locally. And then in June, basically all public ministry stopped all over the world until the threat is gone, vaccines are available, and large gatherings are allowed without restrictions. So it has been a worldwide suspension of our public ministry.
Wow, and that's been worldwide since June of 2020.
That's exactly right.
And you said until vaccines are available and large gatherings are being able to be had. We know right now that's still not possible. So we're still you guys are still suspended.
Yeah, and I think we're going to be looking further into the future. It's very hard to tell what the future holds because right now, as of yesterday, there were 75,000 who were diagnosed with the disease, and that doesn't count the many who aren't being tested. And so vaccines are having an effect, there's no doubt, but we're still seeing an incline of about 20% over the last several weeks, and it is concerning. So as we look ahead, we're going to look for a period of time when, number one, the risk is zero
Mm.
or near zero, theoretically, so that it's no longer in the pandemic phase. And number two, we have to also consider our communities because even though we may feel like it's safe, maybe they don't. And
Right.
so because of the principle of love of neighbor, we must consider how they feel.
Right. Now, one thing I did not think about, which you talked about, was like Bible studies. So in my mind, and in a lot of you guys out there, Team Style Mag, in your mind as well, you're probably thinking when it comes to Jehovah's Witnesses, them knocking on your door and the majority slamming it. But there are some people that actually love your message, that want your message. So when they had to stop those in-home Bible study, like how has removing that door-to-door ministry, those Bible studies, all of that, how has it affected your overall ministry?
Well, it's affected it dramatically, and it is sobering that we're in such a time that we can't go visit our neighbors. It is sobering that we have to even restrict visits to our own family. But it also is the right thing to do because we have to put Bible principles ahead of personal preference. And even though our preference, of course, is to sit down with our neighbor, to show love, to to hug them, to our friends, to put our feet under their table and have a cup of coffee while we're studying the Bible with them, it really was not wise and is not wise still. And so that was a big paradigm shift for all of us because I think in the beginning, March 20th, when we suspended public ministry and public meetings in all of our branch, it was like, okay, yeah, this will be good for a few weeks. At the time, the government was saying maybe by Easter we'll be back, um, and so Easter came and gone. Our memorial came and went, and it was clear it was just escalating. And so we kind of hunkered down, if you will, and began to look at what are the positives of this. And the positives clearly are we can reach lots of people. The positives clearly are that we can reach people where they are now without putting ourselves or them at risk through letter writing, through telephone witnessing, through virtual studies. And we've gotten very good at it. In fact, we had a recent global campaign where millions of letters around the world were sent to government officials and businesses to really tell folks that we haven't disappeared. We're not knocking. Our knocking has gone silent, but our love is still very much alive.
Right. I love that. So have you seen an increase or a decrease in the ministry?
Well, you said before something that was interesting. You said that many people don't want us to come to their door, and it's the truth. We know that. There's a percentage of people who don't. But about 20 million people come to our memorial every year. Last year, even during a pandemic, just 3 weeks after we shut everything down, we held a memorial, and there were nearly 18 million people who attended virtually around the world. This year, we believe it's going to be far more. Our conventions typically are attended by somewhere into 14 to 18 million people. And so there are many people interested in our message, and we need to find them, and we are finding them. In fact, last year alone, 240,000 people were baptized as Jehovah's Witnesses. And so our work has continued to be very robust. 33 new language translations of the Bible released by our organization, an absolute record, and we expect 38 this year. And about 51,000 people, distinct people, contacted us through our website only in the United States last year because they wanted us to contact them. That's 150 people a day. So I think
Wow.
the work that we're doing is having quite of an effect.
Wow, that's amazing. And I know that you're speaking from a U.S. kind of a broad, kind of national level. Is it okay if we bring in your local representative? Because I would love to get some Houston stats on what's been happening in Houston. Is that okay?
Oh, that please do. He would know best.
Awesome. Let's bring on Rodney. Hi, Rodney. How are you?
Happy to be here. Thank you for having us.
No, thank you for joining. So I was talking to Robert. He was talking from a national standpoint, gave some really amazing numbers at how you guys are reaching people, things that have happened during the pandemic. And I kind of wanted to just talk to you and get a more centralized Houston area. So have you seen an increase or a decrease in the Houston area when it came to the door-to-door ministry stopping?
Well, in the Houston area, we have absolutely seen an interest of, an increase of interest. It is true with the pandemic. It has, as well as the recent winter storms, devastated Texas. And what we found is that it's left people asking for questions, asking for answers to their questions, really searching for God. And the witnesses are really happy to answer those questions from the Bible. Just in the Houston area, there are 156 congregations with about 18,700 witnesses, and they're all part of this work. Chances are your viewers have received a letter or a phone call from one of these witnesses with a comforting message. In one of our recent meetings of our memorial, we noticed on some meetings that there was an increase of 16% meaning there were 16% of individuals that were in attendance that were there for the first time. That was amazing.
That's amazing. And one last question for you. Robert talked about the conventions in Houston. Every single year, Channel 39, Channel 11, Isaiah Carey, like they always covered Coco Dominguez, Fox 26. They always cover the conventions that take place here because it's in the Reliant. It's huge. You have thousands of people that come out. How was that transition last year? We saw it was kind of it was weird for a lot of people having weddings on Zoom and other streaming platforms. And how was that for you guys? And what challenges did you face? And how did you overcome that?
Yes, it was certainly different. As you recall, in 2019, we had a large convention here, over 100,000 people visiting from other lands and delegates that were all a part of these conventions in a two-part series. And from that to 2020, where it shocked everyone, we planned on maybe not such a large gathering, a convention, but we planned on several thousand attending that convention. We had to change. Of course, we could not meet, as Robert mentioned earlier. And so here, as well as globally, we took part of those conventions virtually. Conventions were held in over 500 languages. We know Houston itself is a very diverse, a very diverse city.
Right.
And with the languages that are spoken directly by the witnesses, there are 14 congregations of different languages in the Houston area, with many more language groups that support those who are interested in the Bible. Having those 500 different translated conventions simultaneously available to be viewed was certainly something that many appreciated and many enjoyed as they were able to take part in that. And so we can certainly see that with the adjustment, although not our norm, we were able to benefit from it.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, Robert, Jehovah's Witnesses are known, and Rodney spoke, he mentioned this, your local representative kind of talked to your extensive reach, 500 languages. The convention was held in 500 languages. You guys not only reach people who speak a different language, but you reach the hearing impaired, those who are blind, foreign lands that are hard to access. How have those areas been affected when you took away the door-to-door ministry?
Well, I think we've all been affected very similarly, but especially there have been populations, there have been brothers and sisters in pockets that have been seriously affected. So, for example, in some other lands, even some Caribbean islands, and in Africa, we have brothers and sisters who really don't have access to the internet. And so we've had to work out solutions for that. One is our memorial and our special meetings have been broadcast right through the broadcast airways. So that has been a change, and it has helped tremendously. We also have a really cool invention called JW Box, and that allows for a local area network to be created so that recordings can be distributed. But probably one of the most tragic results has been for a very small population of our dear brothers and sisters, and that has been the deaf and the blind. And it's very emotional just to think about it, because some of these brothers and sisters, they relied on touch. And in 2020, touch became taboo. And so not only are they in darkness, not only can't they hear anything, they're alone with their own thoughts without even being able to touch. And touch is how they maintained their connection to the organization. So we have a brother named James Ryan in the Massachusetts area who suddenly, after 30 years of finding comfort with tactile signing at his meetings in person, he all of a sudden was left with Zoom. And Zoom for him, for many who are disabled, it was a godsend, a blessing. for him, it left him out. And so the brothers and sisters were very concerned with him. And this is not unusual. This has happened all around our branch territory. They actually, in real time, began um, interpreting the meetings by writing to him, and he would get it on his device, and his device would convert it to Braille, and it would almost be an audio description or a visual description in words through his Braille um, of the meeting, what was going on. And this is the kind of love that we've seen in these times. We've seen our brothers and sisters go to those 90-year-olds, octogenarians and septuagenarians who can't handle an iPad or a computer, and teach them how to do it and do this safely, because we respected the fact that they were most at risk. And so throughout this pandemic, we've seen acts of love that I think have been something we could have anticipated. You know, if you don't know the problem, if you can't anticipate the problem, you can't anticipate a solution. But when the problem arises and when love is involved, you find a solution, you find a way. And we're finding a way to reach the most vulnerable, those who have been left out in some way. And I think in some cases and in many cases uh, that they're being affected in a more profound way than any of us. And we are finding a way to meet their needs. It's a beautiful thing. That's why the congregation is so important. As an organization, we're very large, but having local small congregations, having 13,000 in the United States, those congregations that are then broken up into small pastoral groups are taking care of our brothers and sisters. Whatever they need is being cared for. And it's faith strengthening. We're going to come out of this as individuals and as an organization, I think, far stronger.
I love that. And that was a perfect, because I was going to ask you for a beautiful example or experience you can share. And that was the perfect experience, because that was my thought, right? Obviously, people who are able, they're able, maybe they're disabled in physical form, like they can't walk or things of that sort. But if you can't see or hear, then, like you said, touch would be, how, just imagine the effect that it has on you to not be able to touch or to feel someone's care and love for you. So thank you for sharing that with me. What's your biggest takeaway as far as Jehovah's Witnesses are concerned? What is the biggest lesson that you guys as an organization have learned from navigating through this pandemic in regards to your ministry, and how will that affect your future?
I think that we're just the end right now of a long line of Christians who have turned obstacles into opportunities. You know, in the first century, when they were spread around and they didn't have full copies of the Bible, they couldn't take from door to door and from city to city all of the copies of their scrolls. So they invented the Codex, which is the modern day book. When the Bible couldn't be translated, Gutenberg invented the press, and just go on and on and on. And even in the turn of the century, when this organization put on one of the first color movies, the photodrama of creation, to really uplift God and his creative abilities and what he's done for us. Well, today, what we have seen is that the modern issues that we're facing of isolation really existed pre-pandemic. We would go to a street in Houston or somewhere in Texas or in this country, and we would spend a couple of hours in the morning on a Saturday and knock on doors. And there have been times, and I've been there, where I have knocked on 50, 60 doors and nobody has answered. And so we knew that was an issue. We knew that even though the door-to-door ministry cannot be replaced, because face-to-face interaction with your neighbors is vital, but we also knew there needed to be another way to reach them. We were all forced into it. I mean, the organization has for years taught us how to do it. They've taught us how to write letters. They've taught us how to telephone witness. But many of us, like myself, to be very perfectly honest, I've been doing this since I was knocking on doors since I was old enough to walk, 60 years old, I've been talking at doors. And that's where my comfort level was, believe it or not. But talking on a phone or writing a letter wasn't my comfort level. But now we have established that ministry that we used to call alternative. Now it's mainstream. And I think if we ever get back to the door-to-door ministry, if we ever get back to our cart witnessing, which we pray we will, it will be combined with these other avenues of ministry that will help reach people in the 21st century where they are, fitting their needs, rather than simply being in our comfort zone. So I think that's a positive, no doubt.
Right. There was an explosion um, on social media where people were like literally posting their letters.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself when they were doing this, because I did see a comment that said, why are you guys posting your letters? Jehovah's Witnesses have been writing letters for years. But another comment was it was very eye-opening, enlightening. Someone said, yeah, but we all haven't been at home to receive them. so
That's funny.
so now people, we're, at that time, we're like literally opening their mail and reading them, because you're at home, you're quarantined. There is no rush, there is no, okay, I have to go to work, I'm getting my mail, I don't know what this is, I'm going to rip it and throw it away. And so you saw this explosion of so many people that were posting their letters online, talking about phone calls, just talking about the reach that you guys had when it came to the alternative or the different types of um, uh, your ministry.
Yeah, and
So
I think honestly, it's been a learning experience for us. I think a year ago, you might find our letters to be very vanilla, very kind of generic. But as the weeks went on and months went on, we realized that we had to really personalize our letters. And frankly, there's a lot available on the internet about people. And so we walk down a street, we knock on doors. Well, you can walk down the street virtually. What's the house look like? How many cars are there? What are the folks going through here? What kind of neighborhood is it? And speaking to the area, perhaps to the news that perhaps affected that area. All of those things have made our letters more effective and more personal, and really have expressed what we feel, that we love our neighbors and we want to reach their heart, even though we can't touch them on a personal basis and see them.
right, that's pretty awesome. Now I know you did speak to it earlier. We talked about it. That currently there is no plans to return to the door-to-door ministry, that you guys are going to still do the kind of alternative, the letter writing, the phone calls, um, the virtual. Have there been any discussions about creating a hybrid ministry, meaning leaving some of these avenues in place for those that may not be that comfortable going back out door to door when it is safe to do so?
Yeah, there's no doubt. First of all, just so that you know, every congregation in the United States branch territory, which includes 26 countries, including the Caribbean, every congregation received an announcement that basically said all restrictions will remain in place until further notice. And that was just this week. And also, we encouraged all of our congregants to take precautions, that even though precautions perhaps were being lifted um, uh, in many places because of economic reasons and because of pandemic fatigue, don't let your guard down. And so we're in this for the long haul to protect our brothers and sisters and our neighbors. However, when we think about ministry, ministry is very personal. And over the years, I think we've all kind of learned that ministry is very personal. And so, what is my personal ministry? What is my personal ministry going to be in the future? Is it okay if I don't go out from door to door anymore because I'm fearful, or because this is more effective, or because I like this better? Listen, here's the thing: it's your ministry. It's our personal ministry, and so these avenues are effective. And so we just have to be right with our Creator, and and really do the best that we can. Give Him our best. If we give Him our best, and that best is a letter, if that best is a phone call, or if later on that best is standing on a street corner for a couple of hours and beseeching those who walk by to take a magazine, all good. And I think that when we look at the future, I really do believe that there'll be many more options available to us, both with our meetings, with our Bible studies virtually, because we're so now ensconced and familiar and comfortable with technology, and also with our ministry, whether that be letter writing, telephone witnessing, virtual studies, cart witnessing, or the public ministry from door to door.
Wow, thank you for that. And one final question I have for you. I hope you don't feel
Hmm.
like just been digging, digging,
Oh
digging too
no, that's
much.
good. No, we're good with this. I love it.
But one final question is, what do you want our listeners and anyone that's out there watching, what do you want them to know about Jehovah, Jehovah's Witnesses, your ministry? What do you want them to know?
Mm. First of all, that we love them, and and we mean that. We don't go from door to door because we want to push our religion on people. We go from door to door, or we did, and we write letters and we reach out because we have a message that we think is powerful. It's powerfully affected our lives individually. It's given us a beautiful organization that is a global brotherhood like no other. And we want them to be a part of it, or at least be exposed to it. At least be exposed to the fact that the Bible not only can change lives, but can sustain lives in such a way that it can make you a better husband, father, wife, daughter, employee, and 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 we have that message, and we want to share it with others, and it is out of love. And secondly, that the Creator loves you, that God loves you. He gave His Son on behalf of mankind because He loves mankind. And it's up to each of us to take full advantage of that. And there are avenues to do that. Rodney talked about our website as an example, and that's an example of love. There's no paywall. All volunteers are working on it, and it's in 1,029 languages. Mayor Sylvester often wants to say that Houston is the most diverse city in the world. He loves to say that, right? Well, guess what? This website was built for Houston. It was built for the most diverse place on earth. And it uniquely can fill the needs of all in this city. And we're hoping that that message gets out to all.
Robert, thank you so much for talking with Houston Style Magazine. Thank you for taking time out of your very busy day to sit down and speak with me. If you guys out there watching, if you want to learn more about Jehovah's Witnesses, you want to learn about their ministry, you just want to talk to one of them, you can visit their website, www.jw.org. Thank you so much, Robert.
You're welcome. Thanks for having us.